That's it. That's it. Now you know. Now you know. Now the cat's out of the bag. Don't let him deny it when he comes back.
That's right. ICE protests turn violent in downtown LA. Local officials blame Trump. So let's take a look at some video from the scene here. So here are the protesters. There are pretty big crowds of protesters. So there you have a large crowd, 10,000 plus. Now, it's always the case with these events, even these events that cannot be fully and fairly categorized as peaceful per se, because there obviously were acts of vandalism and looting and some acts of violence against law enforcement, which we do not condone, obviously. But it's always the case with any of these big protests. I've been to hundreds of them in my life, even ones that get rowdy. Odds are, if you just pin down on a map a point in the protest, where you are will be fine. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Right. They're always mostly peaceful. They're never mostly violent. It's not a riot everywhere you look. So obviously, you had 10,000 plus here, a permitted protest. They had sound amplification for speakers, and for the most part, it was peaceful, but not entirely, obviously. So let's get to some of the confrontations here. Obviously, you have the police on the march. This is a pretty dystopian scene when you look at the graffiti on the wall in the background. And you have some tear gas.
Were they firing tear gas?
Well, this is tear gas. Those were rubber bullets. And obviously you had scenes like this. So like I said, yeah. Not good, believe me, not good. Protests over President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown and the deployment of the National Guard boiled over on the streets of Los Angeles on Sunday as demonstrators blocked the 101 freeway and surface streets, set cars ablaze, and lobbed projectiles at law enforcement. Police responded with tear gas, rubber bullets, and flashbangs to disperse the escalating crowds. So here is an Australian reporter, Lauren Tomasi, a U.S. correspondent for 9 News Australia, was shot at point-blank range with a rubber bullet by an LAPD officer while covering the ongoing anti-ICE demonstrations in downtown Los Angeles.
The standing off this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
You just shut the f*** up! You okay?
I'm good.
That hurts. Now, that officer was since promoted to the IDF. Israel said, "Who's that guy? We want him." And he's on his way to Israel.
I like the cut of his Jeep.
Yeah.
That one.
Exactly. It was the third day of demonstrations against ICE raids in the region as the arrival of around 300 federal troops spurred anger and fear among some residents. Sunday's protests in LA were centered in several blocks of downtown. Hours after announcing the start of 3 separate, then peaceful protests throughout LA, LAPD's Central Division announced that the city was on tactical alert at 2:30 p.m. as the crowd grew unruly. The use of less lethal munitions has been authorized, said LAPD. Arrests are being made. In an update just before 3:30 p.m., LAPD said officers encountered demonstrators throwing concrete, bottles, and other objects. Some police patrolled the streets on horseback, while others with riot gear lined up behind guard troops deployed to protect federal facilities, including a detention center where some immigrants were taken in recent days. The presence of the guard was inflaming tensions in the city, according to a letter sent to Trump by Governor Gavin Newsom on Sunday afternoon. He formally requested that Trump remove the guard members, which he called a serious breach of state sovereignty. Yes, this was the first time that the National Guard had been federalized since 1992, which ironically was during the Rodney King race riots in Los Angeles. Newsom later joined LA City, County, and California state law enforcement leaders at Unified Command, posting, "We're here to keep the peace, not play into Trump's political games," on X. So Waymo vehicles, which are those self-driving taxis, were set on fire in downtown LA as protesters and police clashed. So now we're going to see some of this.
Right before Elon's about to launch his robo-taxis, the Waymos get lit on fire. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Elon's thinking he got out just at the right time. Yeah. These could have been Teslas. Like, Tesla dealerships are totally fine, totally cool.
Yeah,
Imagine Elon were still in the government when these things happened. The shit would have gone down there.
They would have gone straight to the Tesla dealership.
Yeah. So he made out good. So good for him. As police struggled with another day of unrest in downtown LA, several Waymo autonomous taxis were set on fire, sending thick plumes of black smoke billowing high into the air. The dramatic images were captured during an afternoon of clashes between large groups who were protesting immigration raids by the Trump administration and LA police who were trying to maintain order. Scanner Pacific says LAPD requesting Waymo shut down the app. People keep calling them and then lighting them on fire. See, that is a problem you don't anticipate when you're thinking about bringing self-driving cars online. If there's a person in there, they can be targets for vandalism, of course. Andrew, would you mind making that a little larger, please? Thank you very much. A once great American city, Los Angeles, says Donald Trump, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now, violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations. But these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. I am directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, in coordination with all other relevant departments and agencies, to take all such action necessary to liberate Los Angeles from the migrant invasion, capital letters, and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. And the standard sign-off now. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Thomas Yeager quotes on X an interview from Tom Homan, and this is where things kind of escalate further. White House border czar Tom Homan said in an interview that California Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass could be arrested and prosecuted if they impede federal immigration actions. It's a felony to impede law enforcement from doing their jobs. Now, that is not a direct order or suggestion to have Governor Newsom arrested, but, the press, they like to try and pour gas on the fire, no pun intended in this instance, and try and, make a little bit more hay out of this than perhaps they should have. And Donald Trump, he didn't take the bait, did he? It's not like him to take the bait and escalate. No, he said, don't be ridiculous, right?
He only holds back when Elon accuses him of being in the Epstein files.
Right.
That, he's been strangely muted.
Right. So
uncharacteristically reserved, one might say. I wonder why.
So you have Homan give the quote, if they impede federal immigration actions, it's a felony, saying theoretically there are circumstances under which they might be arrested. And the reporter asked Donald Trump what he thinks. And what do you think Donald Trump says? Let's see if he de-escalates or if he intensifies. Let's see where your money's at, people.
If he come and arrest him, should he do it?
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. It's a little hard to hear him over the propellers. I hate how they interview the presidents right near the helicopter. Like, can you kill the engine or walk a little far away? It's very unnerving. But here, we'll play it one more time, and then he gets a little closer to the microphone.
Tom Homan, if he come and arrest him, should he do it?
I would do it. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing.
I will give him this. After Biden it's still jarring having a president who talks to the press like 5 times a day.
Oh yeah, like all day, every day.
All day.
Like he's constantly on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent.
I like him. He's a nice guy. It's just he should be arrested and thrown in prison and sodomized. Yeah. Other than that, he's a nice guy. I like him.
I liked his I liked the Charlie Kirk thing. That was good. That was good. Sloppy Steve. Said that was Sloppy Steve. That was good.
Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly
Nice guy, but we should arrest him.
Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
He's a nice guy. I like him. I just call him new scum and say he should be thrown in prison.
It's like I've always said, the American system of capitalism doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. They got, you ever go to Japan? You ever go to China? They got trains everywhere. Here, you can't even build a little train to San Francisco.
That's right.
We need a revolution in this country.
Under budget. I always do under budget.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
They're being paid by Palantir, clearly.
Yeah, right, exactly. To generate civil unrest, to manufacture consent for the police state that we are trying to build.
They tell me if I try to stop it, it's going to be Butler, only not ketchup this time.
Yeah. So Gavin Newsom says the president of the United States called for the arrest of a sitting governor. This is a sad day. I hoped I would never see in America. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. This is a line we cannot cross as a nation. This is an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism. Okay, so Gavin Newsom was then asked about this on MSNBC, where he, of course, then escalated and essentially, you know, told Tom Homan, "Come and get me, tough guy."
The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
The perception is there's a lot of...
You can find me at the French Laundry. I'll be there at 6.
I'll be there at 6, yes. Happy hour, glasses of wine, $300 each from 4 to 6.
I've been saving up for it all year.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing how, like, this guy still thinks that he's going to be the president someday. Like, I mean, you know, his record was a liability before the wildfires. And then the wildfires, to me, was the nail in the coffin. Now this, I mean, there's just no way. Look, I'm against these ICE raids. People can disagree with me on that if they want. But it is obvious that Newsom insisting he had a handle on the situation was bullshit, just like it was bullshit during the fires. Yeah. And that is what gives agencies like ICE, which in my opinion should not exist. By the way, ICE is a creation of the Department of Homeland Security, 2003. ICE is a construction of the post 9/11 security state, which I thought MAGA was all against, right? I thought they were anti-neocon. I thought they were against the Patriot Act. I thought they were against all of that surveillance on people. Apparently, either not many of them are, or they don't realize what ICE is. ICE is not a long-standing American institution. ICE is a creation of the post 9/11 security apparatus. Right. It is quite Orwellian. It is designed to bring militarization to the criminal justice process. The INS, which was the previous agency that handled immigration matters, that was under the umbrella of the Justice Department. ICE was created along with the Department of Homeland Security, a new department, which kind of sounds like it's right out of 1984, does it not? The Department of Homeland Security.
People have gotten used to it now, but
yeah, they've gotten used to it.
That was quite apparent at the time. Right. Like just using the term homeland invokes dystopian science fiction.
Absolutely, yes. So the Department of Homeland Security, absolutely. So yeah, look, so I'm pretty much against all of this. I don't expect everyone to see eye to eye with me on that. But I can also acknowledge reality, which is that the just neglect and incompetence and stupidity of Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have created a situation where I bet if you polled the country, should Donald Trump have sent the National Guard in, I bet a majority of people would say yes. Because when people see chaos, they think, well, something has to be done. And if the state can't do it, maybe the feds should step in. Now, of course, the feds having stepped in only made this worse. Last night's rioting was worse than the night prior with the troops there. So it's not like they calm things down. They're only going to, of course, make things worse. But the fact remains that this guy's goose is cooked as a political candidate. I don't think there's any chance he gains any traction. I don't even think in the Democratic primary. I don't even think he's going to do very well in that race. But he announces, nonetheless, we are suing Donald Trump. This is a manufactured crisis. He is creating fear and terror to take over a state militia and violate the U.S. Constitution. The illegal order he signed could allow him to send the military into any state he wishes. Every governor, red or blue, should reject this outrageous overreach. There's a lot of hyperbole out there. This isn't that. This is an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism that threatens the foundation of the republic. We cannot let it stand. Oh, hey, look at that.
What's up, man?
You're
Hey,
in.
am I in? Okay. Hey, how's it going? Just great job.
Where's your pint?
I'm just the kidney's still kicking my ass. You're doing a great job. Keep going with the story. Nice work.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
So here's Borders Czar Tom Homan here to sort of clear the air. Now, to be fair, it was really the reporter who I think deliberately misinterpreted what he originally said and thought, hey, you know what? I can get a great publicity quote out of Donald Trump. What if I ask Trump, hey, should he arrest Newsom? And Trump says yes, which he probably will, knowing who he is. But here is Homan clearing the air on MSNBC. I wonder if this is his MSNBC debut. I bet he was pretty excited to come on MSNBC. I hear you guys are the libs. And we're sent here to own the libs. Are you where the libs? Are you the libs? I'm here
Look,
to own you.
I gotta thank you guys because you created the conditions that put me where I am today.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes. So here's Tom Homan.
Arrest me. Let's go. That was the governor of California talking to you.
Look, I'm not biting on that. The NBC reporter that interviewed me very dishonest. We did a 20-minute interview and he cuts off.
He's not biting on that. You know who did bite on that? Your boss bit on that. Donald Trump bit on it. It's funny. He's more disciplined than Donald Trump is. He says, I'm not engaging that. Trump was pretty happy to engage that.
Let's go. That was the governor of California talking to you.
Look, I'm not biting on that. The NBC reporter that interviewed me very dishonest. We did a 20-minute interview and he cuts out a little clip that makes me and takes my words out of context. Here's what we said. And he talked about what I talked about these people that are these protests and rioting. When they cross the line, they got that. Well, here's what I said: they have a right to protest. They have the First Amendment rights, but they can't cross that line. They can't cross that line of impediment. They can't cross that line of putting their hands on officers. They can't cross the line of knowingly concealing and illegal alien, because they're all federal crimes. They're in statute, and they will be prosecuted. When he asked the questions that include Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom, I was clear: they haven't crossed the line, but they're not above the law either. If they commit a crime, they certainly will ask for prosecution. That's what was happening. I never threatened to arrest Governor Newsom, so I'm not biting off on that. It's just that reporter's dishonest, and let him play the whole 20-minute interview, and you'll see a whole different discussion that we had.
All right, so he kind of tamps it down. Funny how it falls to a guy like this to, cool the temperature off. Cool the temperature off. But those are the times we live in, where he is the voice of moderation and reason. So I guess he smoothed things over, where no arrest warrant is out for Gavin Newsom at the moment. What's that?
Dr. Phil called him. Talked him
Dr.
down.
Phil gave him a call and said, hey,
That's too much.
this under control.
That's too much. That's too much now.
Well, Jimmy, I was saying this tends to happen when you leave town. First it was
what's
the
up with
fires,
that,
and now
man?
it's this.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to go down there and get shot with a rubber bullet in my kidney, but unfortunately I'm in Dublin. I just want to make 2 points. I think you kind of touched on the first one, so people. I don't know if you're going to get more into this, but people are taking this at face value, which I think is a mistake, right? So I think 2 things are happening here. One thing is definitely as we've reported recently, everybody has reported, from you to me to Tim Dillon to Glenn Greenwald to everybody else, that Trump is ratcheting up the surveillance state.
Yep.
And just like Barack Obama was the perfect guy to get the left to go to sleep, or the Democratic left to go to sleep, when he did Libya, when he did Syria, when he ramped up Afghanistan, and when he ramped up the drone war and killed American citizens without a trial extrajudicially, because he got those people who the natural opponents to that to go to sleep, because he was the person in power doing it, and it worked like a charm. Um, the same thing's happening here. The people who thought they voted for the opposite of what Trump is doing with Palantir and their surveillance state, and his golden dome is just a cover for their surveillance state.
Exactly. Yep.
Is there lots of them, not all of them, but lots of them are being silenced because it's their man doing it, right?
Right.
And I've seen lots of prominent Twitter accounts. I only go on Twitter. I've seen lots of pro Trump Twitter accounts. Well, Laura Loomer's one for sure. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we have that.
We're doing it next.
Yeah. That's good
Okay,
stuff.
so I think there's that's happening, and the violence that's happening here. It seems to be.
And Jimmy, a lot of those accounts are paid. They're paid,
Yeah.
man. We saw this a couple of months ago where they all came out for against the Maha effort against sugar
Against
in
the soda, right.
and it turned out they were all getting paid.
Yeah.
So what? You think they don't get paid when they back Palantir like that?
So I'm pretty sure they are. And Tim Dillon also made a video, which I saw yesterday, saying that if you are not confused by this ramp up of the surveillance state, and you are completely compromised. And he said, I expect a lot more of those people to show up in the coming weeks and months, and they are. The other thing is, I think a lot of the violence that you're seeing there is agent provocateurs. The crazy. So that they're leaving out bricks. Are you going to cover all this? Should I shut up and wait for you to get to it?
We are covering more of that angle next.
Okay,
We're
all
going
right.
more into the Palantir side of things.
Okay, so just the same thing that happened during Black Lives Matter was that all of a sudden pallets of bricks show up in the city street before a riot or before a protest, and so the same thing's happening here. So it makes me feel like this kind of chaos is what the establishment wants.
Yep.
And it's so it's not, Donald Trump isn't the sole cause of this. The rioters aren't. They all have Mexican flags while they're doing this. It looks like they all bought them at the same store. And so this you're being played, and so we're being played again by this, and it's all being ramped up for a purpose I'm not exactly sure. I know one purpose definitely is so that makes it easier for Trump to ratchet up their surveillance state. I don't know what the other purpose is, but there's got to be one. And so I just wanted to make that point, that we're being played again. If we think that this is what it looks like on the surface, you're a sucker.
Yeah, well, you should hang out for because we're going to do more of the Palantir angle in this next piece. But broadly speaking, like what I said yesterday on our show, was that you have to remember all this chaos here. They arrested just over 100 undocumented immigrants. That's all. 100 people. So if you would do this to the city of Los Angeles to get 100 guys, you really think it's about getting those 100 guys, or do you think it's about doing this? This is the goal. Of
course.
The 100 guys, Trump says there are 20 million illegal immigrants here who they have to kick out. So you're going to turn a city upside down for 100 guys? That math doesn't check out. At that rate, you'd light the whole country on fire to get 1,000 guys, right? So it's clearly not about those 100 guys. It's not about the deportation. The immigrants are the pretext to build a police state, because you can't build a police state without a scapegoat, because no one wants to live in an authoritarian surveillance state. So you have to say, well, you might not want it, but you're going to have to sign up for it because there are these scary immigrants here who we have to get out. So you're going to have to give us the power to track them and remove them. And there you go. And by the time they turn it on you, it's way too late. This big, beautiful bill has $45 billion in new ICE jails that they're going to try and get through. It doesn't look like it's going to pass, but I'll bet that passes in the final version of whatever comes out of Congress.
Yeah, and it's also narrative management, because if you look at the common theme in what Stephen Miller is putting out and what Donald Trump is putting out, Los Angeles, a once great city. So who destroyed Los Angeles, and by implication America, not the corporations, not
Yeah.
the oligarchs.
Yeah.
Look, what about all these Midwestern cities that didn't have a large influx of immigration beyond the turn of the century? What about, I was just up in Buffalo. Well, you think you see a lot of Haitians and South Americans, Central Americans going up to Buffalo, but you got the same crumbling infrastructure that you have in cities like Los Angeles and New York. So what do you blame it on there? This is all about finding someone to blame so that they don't start actually looking at the ruling class that's been robbing them for decades.
Yeah, when I covered the New Hampshire Republican primary, I would ask these people at these country clubs going to Nikki Haley events, what's your number one issue? They say, well, it's the border. Well, it's immigration.
Right.
I say, this is New Hampshire. I'm the brownest motherfucker here. And you guys are worried about immigration as if it's the number one issue?
Exactly. They got to blame somebody. There's got to be some explanation, right? And the explanation they do not want people to arrive at is the correct one, the obvious one. Themselves.
Right.
Themselves. This is all about, no, don't go get them. That's the one. That's the one who stole your purse. Meanwhile, they're running away with it.
Right. Exactly. All right. Do we want to go into the Palantir thing? We can go right in. We could take a chat break if we need to, or we can go right in. We got some more chats coming in here. I could read a couple of these here. What do we got here? Did I miss? No, I got that one. Okay, here we go. I joined late and likely missed an update on Jimmy. Well, good timing, because Jimmy's right here. I'm on Jimmy Dore time. Please tell me the update on Jimmy's health. Thank you, and thanks for filling in, Keaton and Russ.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah, there you go.
So I woke up Wednesday. I don't know if people remember. I was having a tough day at the show. I thought I was having constipation or something. And it turned out it was a kidney stone, which I think I've been battling since early April, which is, anyway, long story shorter, I wake up Thursday morning and full-blown kidney stone attack. And, if you've ever had one of those, they say it's worse than childbirth, which, like, I guess if you're trying to birth a baby through your dick hole, that's what it would feel like.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. I had to call an ambulance anyway. I got lucky in a sense that it wasn't infected, so they could do an operation on it right away. And so the way they do it now is they put a laser up your yin yang, and that goes right through your bladder up to your kidney, and they zap it with a laser and break it up. And then they have a basket that pulls out the stone, which before they would just leave it in there, and then you'd have to pass the broken up stone.
Oh, man.
Now they pull it out, but they leave a stent, right? And so it was, anyway, again, it's too much, but I was pissing blood for the last 3 days. It looks exactly like a cranberry juice, tastes just like apple juice, like normal. And but
all right, and Andrew, that's the drop for the clip right there.
So they leave this stent in you, which goes from your kidney through your bladder out your urethra, which is your pee hole. And so you look down and it looks like a snake's tongue is coming out of your and it was unbelievable. And then so every time you have to go pee, you get this horrible kidney pain because of the stent. When your bladder flexes or contracts, it pushes pee back up into your kidney. Anyway, I know I'm going way too long on this because I'm on Norco, and I couldn't make it without Norco. And anyway, I had to pull out that stent today by myself. Do you ever? And it's like 12 inches long. You have to pull it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, myself.
You're hurting me. You're hurting me just telling this story.
And it's got two curly.
Strangely, this is part of the bar mitzvah ritual. It's very similar. Very similar. You want to become a man, you have to do a lot of this.
This was the scariest. I would rather be forced to do a Glenn Greenwald video than pull that thing out from my yin yang, and it took me about 2 hours standing in the shower to get the courage to do it. And anyway, so I did it, and I thought the pain would be all gone, and it's no. It turns out no. After you do that, you're gonna for at least 2 more days have these contraction pains in your kidney, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding. So I've been in Ireland since yeah, I don't know. I've been in Ireland for maybe 24 hours, no longer than that, right? 36 hours maybe, and I haven't left the room. So I'm not
When's your
really.
first show?
Well, on Wednesday I fly to Glasgow, meet Neil Oliver, and do a show there. So hopefully I'll be better by Wednesday. We go to Glasgow and then Manchester, then Belfast, back to Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. So
Wow.
that's the schedule.
Very cool.
So hopefully I'll be able to do, get off these Norcos, and which are like it's just they just renamed Vicodin. That's what Norcos are. I don't know
Right.
why they had to rename them. Maybe it was a patent issue. But anyway, so that's where we are. I'm and still it comes and goes. A lot of pain, not good. As Donald Trump would say, not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Very unfair.
I would recommend the British Museum, man. Try to get to the British Museum.
In Dublin,
London.
Oh, in London. Oh,
You go
okay.
to London, the British Museum. They have. Okay, I've never seen this in American museums, but I saw it in quite a few European museums. They'll have bodies and remains and skeletons on display. So the British Museum has the actual mummies with their faces exposed.
No kidding.
I did not know anyone did that.
Wow.
Because we don't do that here. It's not just them. Like in Greece, you'll have and in Italy, you'll have like the skeletal remains placed the way they had found them. Like we don't do that here. I don't know if it's because the country was founded by religious fanatics and that kind of thing like bothers us. We consider it disrespectful to the dead. But the godless Europeans are fine with that.
So I had one day off between Birmingham and London, and I had to decide whether to spend it in London or Birmingham. And I decided to spend it in Birmingham because it turns out they have more canals, mileage of
Right.
canals in Birmingham than they do in Venice. So I'm like, oh, I'll stick around, take a
Huh.
canal tour and see. So that's what I'm doing. And so I don't think I'll have time to go to see that museum. Maybe next time I'm in London. But London's sold out, which is nice. But if you're in
Very
Manchester,
cool.
Glasgow, Birmingham, Liverpool, Belfast, Dublin, there's still tickets available. Come out and see the show, and you'll get to hear why hate speech is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. So you made it back across the boat. You were in Canada.
Yeah.
And you made it back across the border fine. Now you're pushing it. You're going to have to try and make it back
You're really
the second
yeah.
time.
Might
And
get
you got to
arrested over
navigate the hate speech laws over there. You sent us that
Yeah.
piece about the Brazilian comic, which we're doing later. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean,
Yeah, it's
insane.
Well, we're going to see what happens because I'm going full throttle hate speech, that's for sure. And
No,
it's
you should
again-
stick to kidney stone humor. They can't nail you for that. Just talk about your kidney stone for an hour. It was pretty good. You have some good stuff on it already. That's probably safer to do over there. No politics. Just
It
kidney
was
stone
like
humor.
October 7th in my kidney.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'll use that. That's good. I'm going to
Yeah,
use
there
that.
you go.
Yeah, I had to take my kidney hostage.
Yeah, yeah.
How about we got to give it up for Greta Thunberg? I like to rip her, but she's definitely
yeah, man. Credit where it's due, man. That is some ballsy shit.
So
Ballsy shit.
I'll give it up for her. But so it's nice to know that she shut up about climate change, and she's doing some good work.
Yeah, finally found a real problem to concern herself with.
Yeah, I mean, somebody that young, you just don't know how they're going to develop,
Yeah.
man. I thank the Lord I grew up in the age before everybody had a camera on their phone because I would not want to spend the rest of my life explaining that shit.
I'm with you 100%.
All right, do we want to do the Palantir piece?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's rock and roll. All right, so Donald Trump put this out. Governor Gavin Newsom, I like him, but Yeah, I call him Newscomb. It's affectionate.
I call him Newscomb, and I say he should be thrown in prison, but he's a nice guy. I like him.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. And Mayor Bass should apologize to the people of Los Angeles for the absolutely horrible job that they have done. And this now includes the ongoing LA riots. These are not protesters. They are troublemakers and insurrectionists. Remember, no masks. Now, you want to talk right off the bat about a psyop, and Jimmy, you've talked about this a lot. They empower strong Republicans and weak Democrats. You cannot tell me, because at this point, I know too many strong people who are on the left for me to believe that this is an accident, that everyone who gets elevated is a weak moron. There's no way that that's by accident.
Right.
That you only have people like Newsom and Bass in positions of power in the Democratic Party. It makes no sense. Everyone in Los Angeles wear masks all the time until the feds leave. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish that. These are not protesters. They are troublemakers and insurrectionists. Remember, no masks. So Jim Stewartson here responds, everyone in Los Angeles wear masks all the time until the feds leave. They want to put your face in a Palantir database so they can surveil you. Do not cooperate. It is your right to wear what you want. Absolutely. Now, Laura Loomer here, champion of freedom that she is, they call her Lady Liberty around the happy hour. Time to deploy Palantir Tech to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. Wow, I think she misread a lot of the room. So James Lee here commented on this and kind of sums up a lot of what we've been talking about here.
Say some pretty unpopular things, starting with this is not good. Also, this is not a peaceful protest, but something very disturbing is happening in the background that I think you should know about. It's time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't.
What?
This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for. Remember, when they justified the passing of the Patriot Act over 20 years ago, they told us we needed all this extra power to go after the bad guys, to get rid of the terrorists. But almost immediately, the government started to use that extra power they were given to spy on ordinary Americans, right? How can you be so sure that you will not be deemed an enemy of the state one day? There's absolutely no guarantee that this master database won't be weaponized against you. And to be perfectly honest, history tells us that the likelihood is pretty high that it will be used against you one day. So to quote RFK Jr., 1, any power that the government takes from the people, it will never return voluntarily. 2, every power that the government takes, it will ultimately be abused to the maximum extent possible. 3, nobody ever complied their way out of totalitarianism. The only thing we can do is resist. Be careful out there, people.
RFK Jr. should tell his boss that. So Kurt Metzger, friend of show Kurt Metzger, replied to Laura Loomer, do you really not comprehend the level of evil fuck of Alex Karp and Peter Thiel? And Ian Carroll. Laura, how would you feel if it was deployed to target Jews? Not great, right? Once you give the government a power, you never give it back. You are giving that power to every future administration. So the question should always be, what if this was used to target me? Here. Stephen Miller has a very different take on all this, predictably. While ICE officers are battling violent mobs in Los Angeles, Rand Paul is trying to cut funding for deportations and border security. On Fox this morning, I argued for $75 billion in new spending for the border. Current estimates are that a 1,000 miles of wall can be built for about $7 billion, and 68 billion would still employ thousands of new border patrol agents, immigration judges, and expanded detention facilities. Okay. Now, Kentucky statesman here responding to Thomas Massey. While ICE officers are battling violent mobs in the Los Angeles PSYOP, Stephen Miller is working hard to pass the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, to shield Palantir and their Orwellian AI surveillance algorithms from being regulated by the states for 10 years so they can't interfere with the upcoming New World Order. And what he's quote tweeting from Massey is the Big Beautiful Bill contains a provision banning state and local governments from regulating AI. It's worse than you think. It would make it easier for corporations to get zoning variants so massive AI data centers could be built in close proximity to residential areas. Getting the picture? Getting the picture? I'll throw in a little side element that's not in this slideshow. We did a story about how the University of Zurich did an experiment that they caught hell for because they didn't tell anyone they were doing it. They sent AI bots into Reddit to persuade people of things, and they found that they were more persuasive than humans. Now, if the University of Zurich just did that experiment, what do you think the odds are that the three-letter agencies have not been doing that for years and years? Look at some of the really crazy, divisive comments you'll see on X, and then go look at how many followers they have. It's like 27, right? Why? Almost always. You think they're not setting loose fake AI bots posing as people in order to steer you in one direction or another, depending on your ideological biases, and keep you arguing over the immigrants and the wall while they build a police state around you? So this is Whitney, who basically this is her life's work exposing this kind of thing. Palantir is not just a military contractor. It was a company created to privatize and house the Bush-era neocon-run surveillance program, Total Information Awareness, housed previously at DARPA, and put it under increased CIA control, though the CIA was also intimately involved with TIA. TIA was shut down by Congress because it would have eradicated the constitutional right to privacy, but Palantir has accomplished that and gotten away with it because it is a private sector entity. You know how we're always saying, well, we should make social media a publicly held interest in order to have constitutional protections. Okay, so if you're a government agency like the CIA, you have to stay within certain constitutional constraints, theoretically. Whitney has written quite a lot about Palantir specifically, how they used Palantir to get around the Constitution, because, you say, well, they're a private company, they could do what they want. So government agencies like the CIA said, yeah, they can do what they want. So let's subcontract out the stuff that we might get in trouble if we did it, because they don't have those constraints. Yep. Palantir's earliest funder besides Peter Thiel, the CIA. Palantir's first client for its first several years as a company, the CIA. Where did Palantir engineers every 2 weeks for years go for guidance in developing their products? CIA HQ. Palantir's originally intended clients per CEO Alex Karp, the CIA. If there ever was a CIA front company, it's Palantir, though Peter Thiel has since quipped that the CIA is a front for Palantir. So Jimmy tweeted this out. Does this guy look like someone panicking and thou doth protest too much? That's because he's doing exactly what he's being accused of, and people are starting to catch on, and he's panicking. So this was an appearance the Karp did on very, very, very friendly to CEO criminal network, CNBC.
New York Times has an article. Here's the headline. Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans. They paint a pretty Orwellian picture of what you and the Trump administration are doing.
I was walking over here. I picked a random engineer, and I said, by the way, we have a contest. Find all the technically absolutely erroneous things in this article in 90 seconds. And I picked a random engineer. I was like, well, how many do you think you could do in 90 seconds? He's like, well, 15, 20. But leaving aside the technical, look, it's probably
wrong.
hard
Is that
for
what you're
them,
saying?
I'm sure. Well, it's not. Well, first of all, on the tech side, it is so ridiculous. I read the New York Times. It's literally like I'm a dyslexic. They might as well be hiring me to do a spelling bee. So, maybe they just have friends who are tech bros, but they can't.
Okay, and I'm going to say this seems to be a very common tactic of these billionaire CEOs, because Elon likes to pull that line too. Yeah, my head's made out of wood. I'm a stupid guy. It's a deflection to hide what they actually are and what they actually do. I couldn't be responsible for this. I'm dyslexic. I'm a dumb guy.
And hire on a meritocratic basis, I don't know. So that's up to them. We have a contest. Find all the errors in 90 seconds. I think somebody will find 50 or 60. But the more important thing is, we are not surveilling Americans. We are not building a database to surveil. And if you wanted to do that, the last platform in the world you would buy is Palantir. And don't believe me, spend 10 minutes and look at the architecture of our product. 10 minutes. And then see how ridiculous that is. By the way, writing ridiculous shit in a highly charged environment is dangerous. And the New York Times should take responsibility for the danger they're putting out in the world. Dangerous. There really are people who believe.
Isn't it funny how woke these anti-wokesters become whenever it suits them, how quickly they go to ruling anything they don't like as out of bounds on the basis that it's threatening their safety or the safety of the country or the safety of whoever, fill in the blank. They go right to the woke language. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to say this.
That crap.
Well,
they believe that.
One thing that's true, though, is that you.
Yeah. Our code is not open source, but hey, go take 10 minutes looking into it. And the only people who are able to do that have security clearances and work for our company. But hey, go ahead and do it. Sounds good. Sounds like it makes sense, right?
I'm wearing a plain white T-shirt, just like you at home.
Just like you. I'm just folks. Yes. I'm just folks.
I'm just one of you.
So this is also from Jimmy. Palantir is creating the most mind-boggling surveillance state apparatus known to man, and they're doing it in conjunction with the Trump administration. It used to be called Total Information Awareness. Not only are they taking your IRS data and your Social Security data and your healthcare data, but they are compiling your buying habits, your phone calls and texts, your Google searches, etc. Everything and anything about you, and they put it into a database on you. You will be controlled in all things, including pre-crime. You will have an effective social credit score and a digital ID and CBDC. Trump is the perfect person to have this happen under because he sells himself as the opposite of a deep state character. And so it silences his base, which is the natural opposition to this kind of surveillance state. It's worse than you think. And it's definitely why the head of Palantir is appearing so freaked out. People are catching on. Scott Smielkowski. That's a name. Diabolical. Why is Trump allowing this to happen? Jimmy continues. Because Trump is not what he appears to be. Why did he shut down the investigation into his assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania? Why did his FBI chief insist that Epstein committed suicide? Why did Trump keep Doge from going to the Pentagon? Why did Trump explode the Pentagon budget and the debt instead of cutting it like he promised? It's become Trump. It's because Trump is not actually an opponent of the deep state, but he is in bed with them, which is why he was allowed to become president in the first place. Yeah, those are some truth bombs right there.
Well, I take you're definitely you're not making it back into the country now.
Man, that's
better
it.
find a place over there.
I don't know if you really wanted to sit in on this segment, Jimmy. So here's Alex Karp saying the kind of thing that I promise you, if Reid Hoffman said it, MAGA would be all over this.
And we were asked if we were willing to supply our product philanthropically, basically for free. And I was very in favor of this because our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
Set a global standard for the world for behavior. So yeah, to Jimmy's point, the reason that they brought in Donald Trump was because Harris was never going to be able to sell the New World Order. She was never going to be able to sell it. They saw that. Listen, the smoking gun, no pun intended to me, is the assassination thing. This is a guy who has made a point of going after every law firm that ever looked at him funny since he won the election. And he didn't turn the place upside down as soon as he got in to get to the bottom of this assassination. Look how obscured and erased the details of this assassination have become. Who has tried to kill a president whose name you don't know? David Hinckley. I still right off the top of my head, right? Do you know this guy's name? We're in this space. Jimmy, do you know this guy's name? Who tried to shoot Trump?
I do not know that.
Right. How is that not constantly being drilled at every assassination attempt I've ever seen? The person's name was front page every day.
Yeah.
They talked.
His last name is Crooks because I looked it up. I forget his first name though. I looked it up recently because that is a point that you made. But yeah, no, it is. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that is definitely a tell.
Right. And then you've got Pam Bondi saying we've got thousands of tapes, and you got Kash Patel saying we don't have tapes. These are not the tapes you're looking for. It tries to pull a Jedi mind trick there with Rogan. Yeah, man, it's becoming increasingly obvious that Trump was allowed to ascend to the presidency because look, they got this thing wired, man. If they can't get it one way, they'll get it another way. And now I hope, I do believe there is a lot of the MAGA movement who do see through this, and you are seeing a lot of them speak out on it. The ones who don't speak out on it, that's going to tell you who the people getting paid are, and a lot of them are getting paid. A lot of it is just a business at this point.
But and here's the other thing though, even with regard to I think there are a considerable amount of Trump supporters or at least Trump voters who are hip to this. That's why you're seeing all this conversation around Palantir from guys like Ian Carroll and the like. From an electoral standpoint though, what the hell are they going to do about it? I mean, this is the vice grip that they have. Like, what are you going to do? You can't vote for the Democrats, right?
Right.
In the electoral system, the only guy who could have really done anything about this was Eugene Debs, and he had to run from prison, right? People who are really going to be a threat don't get close. If you get close, it's because they can get to you.
They got to you. Exactly.
And that's not to say you don't engage at all, but in terms of the electoral thing, it's just, I mean, if this doesn't tell you what a dead end that is, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and that is why we are post-duopoly. So Patriot Voice here sums it up. This is alarming for several reasons. Trump just made a deal with him and allowed his company to weave intricately into the fabric of the whole federal government, creating a merged massive database of all our personal sensitive data for the first time in history. This is significant because, yes, the government has always had our data by way of the NSA, but it's never been merged together across all agencies with the help of a third-party corporation like Palantir, which acts more like an intel agency than a company. They did this using a back door through Doge, and Elon Musk facilitated the process. That was his true role. Remember, he was going to cut $2 trillion. What'd you end up with? $9 billion? Proposing $9 billion
in a bill that's not going to pass. They're going to have to go and monkey with that even more.
Yeah, it was never about any saving the government. That was his true role. Palantir and Elon go way back, and recently XAI has partnered with Palantir along with BlackRock. Deep state. In fact, Palantir is quite literally funded by the CIA through In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's venture capital arm. In a nutshell, Trump just employed a proxy of the CIA to create the largest surveillance police state in American history. Did you know that Alex Karp also bragged about stopping the rise of the far right in Europe? Why would Trump, who is supposed to be a right-wing populist, allow such intentional subversion by a self-professed progressive like Alex Karp to infiltrate our government? They want to set a standard for behavior because that is the standard upon which the coming social credit system will be measured, and that will tie directly into our data profile, financial, medical, personal, including our usage of carbon, which will be taxed. Everything we do will be monitored by smart devices, and that information will factor into our social credit score, which will dictate the privileges we are allowed to have or not. That is the nightmare version that these psychopaths have for our future, and it is being enabled. Through the internet of bodies, they will even know our thoughts, and any dissent or opposition will be swiftly punished. They are even able to create pre-crime, thought crime scenarios to set us up for crimes we never committed using advanced AI. Sound familiar? This all plays into the depopulation agenda as well, because we are seen as the carbon. We are the carbon they want to reduce. Imagine if the movies Terminator and Minority Report became a reality, and that is what we're up against. If you can't already see it and are still having a hard time understanding, Palantir is literally the deepest part of the deep state, and Trump is rolling out the red carpet for them to usher in what will certainly be the beast system, a cashless society in which you will be tracked and monitored every second of every day, and your behavior will dictate how you get to live in society. This is absolutely the Great Reset and Build Back Better, spelled with a 666, repackaged MAGA style, the biggest rug pull in history. Yeah, that was a little long, but he pulled all the threads together. Obviously, some Book of Revelations overtones there. But overall, his take is one we've touched on a lot on our show and over here. I have long been saying they're trying to kill us. That is part of why they want to get rid of healthcare. What do they want us to have healthcare for? They don't need us anymore. The AI is coming in. The AI now, it's not just blue collar work that they can automate. Now they can automate the white collar work. A large, restive, unemployed population is dangerous to them. It is better to kill everybody off with lack of health care than the alternative, which you're seeing them set up that option too. It's to come and Tiananmen Square everybody, right? They're gonna come and they're gonna confront protesters and they're gonna gun them down in the streets. Hey, that could happen in Los Angeles before all of this is over. And the faction that is most likely to resist is MAGA. That's why they had to put in Trump. They couldn't have done this under Harris. If Alex Karp said that as part of and he was connected to Kamala Harris, oh my God, man, they'd be storming city halls all around the country. County seats of government would be getting protests outside. This is happening under Trump. Yeah, get those immigrants out of the country. This is exactly what I voted for. Yeah, it is what you voted for, and you're not going to get shit out of it. Whenever we bring this up, people bring it to, why, you think that doesn't suppress wages? Listen, I've said this many times. I experienced it. I used to drive a horse and carriage. You don't have to make the argument to me that having illegal immigrants come into a business can suppress wages for working people. I come from a working class background. I saw construction go from a very good job to a pretty low paying job. My best friend was a general contractor. After a while, I couldn't get enough money for it to even be worth it for him to do the jobs. Yeah, man, that's true. But they are not going after these immigrants in order to improve your conditions. If they were, they wouldn't be doing everything else that they're doing, like cutting Pell Grants. They wouldn't be giving themselves an enormous tax cut. They wouldn't be trying to cut Medicaid if they actually cared about the working class. If they were actually increasing healthcare for working class people, if they were putting money into setting up training centers for people to get better jobs, if they were increasing financial aid for people to get an education, and they were doing this, you might say they're doing this very badly, but with the intention of helping the working class. When you put that all in context, what, this is the one thing they're doing for the working class? Really? No, this is the thing they're doing to distract the working class from their actual agenda, which is the Palantir agenda. And that is what's going on in LA right now. It is getting the people most likely to fight the New World Order to cheer it on.
Well, I've heard this theory, and this is a little further down the rabbit hole, but, I've heard people float the theory that actually the flood of migrants, the flow of migrants from the South up north under Biden was really intended to create a backlash and bring in a guy like Trump, who could then build this security apparatus under the guise of being strong on immigration. Right. Because it wasn't just to suppress wages, because if it was just to suppress wages, then everything you said would be different, right? They'd be taking measures to actually empower people and bring wages back up, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And so, yeah, man, it makes you wonder. It certainly does.
Yeah, I do feel that I don't feel people who are saying that they let all these immigrants in to destabilize society are wrong. I think they're just getting one half of the picture. The purpose was to bring in Trump, to bring in someone like Trump, who under the guise of doing something about it could set up this completely centralized police state and have people deluded into thinking, yeah, this is about us. This is about, look at the language they're using. Los Angeles, this once great city, really, it's the immigrants that destroyed Los Angeles. It's not what's happened across the entire country, decades of stagnant wages and all of the productivity gains being filtered increasingly to a higher and higher income bracket until now it's all concentrated in the 1% of income earners that get most of the gains. That's not what's destroyed the country. It's the immigrants.
Yep.
I mean, that's definitely it. And, I've made the case many times that, open borders, as Bernie Sanders pointed out before he became a complete cuck to the Democratic Party, used to be considered by Democrats a Koch brothers operation to suppress wages. So it does do that. Right, it definitely does. It has multiple purposes. The second one being that it keeps us from coming together to organize against the establishment and the oligarchy. So we keep being angry and fighting at people lower than us on the economic ladder instead of the people creating that situation. And third, and I'm going to guess this may be the biggest reason, is what you just pointed out. It's so that they can use it as a reason to expand the surveillance state. It's like this is the last piece of the puzzle in the surveillance state. It started with 9/11 and the Patriot Act, and this would be the last piece with Palantir, which is why Alex Karp was freaking out so hard.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. All right. We should probably switch to Rumble, right? We're probably past due to switch over to Rumble. So why don't we head on over there, and then we'll take some more chats and get on with the show. And we could do an ad, I guess.